What is up, everyone? Today, a long time ago, I made a video on some basic tools that every small engine repair person needs to have, and they were the basic tools. They were like screwdrivers and sockets and all that. I'm not going to go over that today. I'm going to go over more of the specialty tools and some of them and why you need them, where I got them, generally how much they were, which take that with a big grain of salt because some of these were a long time ago and some of these were rather new. So, you know, who knows when you're watching this and probably have gotten cheaper or most likely got more expensive. So, as you can tell by the steel right there and the steel right there and the two beyond there you can't quite see, I work with a lot of steels. Steels love Hex Bits, and more importantly, they love putting them in really bad places that require a long bit. I don't remember how long these are, but they're just type in long hex. They are not impact rated. You can get some are impact rated, but to be honest, you generally don't need to have them impact rated. I do have a set of them, and they actually break well before these. So take that. But like I said, if you work with any amount of steels, having these extended bits are going to be a lifesaver, and you will most definitely need one. The price for these when I was buying them was roughly about $9. Wasn't all that bad. I think when I looked at them recently, they were closer to $14, but I think I might have got them on sale, to be honest. Next piece is a screwdriver. Now, I know I said I wasn't going over basics, but let me explain. This is what is called a JIS screwdriver. It's a Japanese import. I'm assuming it's Japanese import screwdriver. I don't really know, but JIS screwdriver. Type that in. You'll most likely find these with a black handle. There's a couple that don't have the black handle. Usually get in a pack of 3 to 4. You could probably get others, but generally you'll find a pack of 3 to 4. The reason why you need these is if you work on Hondas, Kawasaki's, Yamahas, anything that's basically not Briggs & Stratton, you're going to be running into a JIS screw. How you can tell you have a JIS screw is if you look at the top of the head, you'll see a dot on it. If you see a dot and you use just a normal screwdriver, you're probably going to end up stripping it out if it is at all tight. If it's loose, you could get it out, no problem. But the good thing is, even if it doesn't have a dot, this screwdriver works amazing with pretty much everything. It's basically the only screwdriver set I use. It works good for non-JIS and especially good for JIS screws. It's just pretty much a necessity at this point, unless you really like stripping out screws. When I got them, it was roughly $12 for a set of 3. It wasn't all that bad, so I would always keep a set of these handy. Now, I know what you're going to say. I've done the videos on TIG welding, and no one wants a TIG weld. I get it, trust me, but I'm just saying a specialty tool that became very, very handy because you do work on small items is a TIG welder. It does aluminum. If you get the AC/DC version, if you get just a straight DC, it will just do steel, stainless steel, stuff like that. Basically every metal except aluminum and magnesium. The price for AC is a little bit expensive, so a good DC rig probably can cost a couple $100. Okay, probably a good one's gonna be closer to $800 to $1,000, and a good AC one's probably gonna double that. But the benefit of AC is aluminum, and you'd be surprised how many times you work with aluminum with small engines. I got this one a long time ago, about 2-3 years maybe now, and I paid $1,800. I did a quick search, and they are selling for roughly $2,700 now, and that's just the setup, just the machine. You do get a torch, you get a pedal, which is pretty decent, you get the ground, you get everything you need to start. You don't get a bottle and don't get a stand. So you might need to buy a cart, you will definitely need to buy a bottle. There is no TIG welding with no bottle unless you switch it over to stick, which coincidentally every TIG welder is a stick welder, so if you don't want to buy a bottle, you can at least weld with stick. Stick welding is not my favorite, but I'm glad to do it because a lot of heavy things are usually stick welded. So if you do need to, just buy a normal welder, MIG welder. You know, those are good options, but if given the two, I would always go for a TIG for small engine work. If you do trailers, if you do anything else besides small engine work, that's probably not going to be the most beneficial machine to buy first, but it's definitely something you want to have in your arsenal. This is a Briggs & Stratton clutch removal tool. I used it quite a few times on a couple machines, including that red beast out there, but it makes removing the clutch on an older Briggs & Stratton very easy. You don't have to shove anything in the fins, you don't have to do anything like that. It's something you only use on Briggs & Stratton, but if that's something you use quite often, especially the old ones, I'm talking to you, my Australian friend, then this is definitely something you want to have in your arsenal. Technically, you can go around it. Big pair of pliers, a bar wedged in there, maybe some string wedged into the cylinder hole. You know, you can get around it. But by buying this, you change a 15-minute job into a, I don't know, 2-minute job. If that. That's if you spend an hour and a half or a minute and a half looking for it. So I paid roughly $12 for it, but it was on sale. Last time I looked, they're roughly about $16. But those prices fluctuate greatly. I bought one just like this for a friend of mine, and I actually only paid $8 at that time for it. So pricing, it's still cheap, but I've seen them as high as $35. Kind of keep an eye out for it. A lot of them are used. eBay has a lot of used ones. Might be a good option, but I definitely recommend buying one of these. Well, hold on there. Over 90% of you, according to YouTube, are not currently subscribed. You're watching this video, but you're currently not subscribed. So I'm going to welcome you to subscribe at the end if this helped you out. I work on a lot of machines, so maybe the machine you're watching is going to be something you own, but who knows? Maybe you own a generator, a pressure washer, a big mower, a chainsaw, a variety of things. The only way to know if I'm going to fix it in the future is by subscribing, and maybe I get to the one that you own and can help you out then too. So I welcome you to subscribe, put a thumbs up if it does help you out. Back to your normal video. A lot of the other stuff was fluff. You could go around using it or needing it. Welder, you could pay someone. The extended bits, maybe you can rig up something. You know, there's lots of different ways around that. But a good set of feeler gauges, you cannot get around. You need a good set of feeler gauges. Amount of valve work you would do is going to be substantial, especially if you work in overhead valve or overhead cam machines or steels. The 4-mix, which brings my next point up, if you can get a thinner set on the tip, because then those are a little bit easier to use. They're not as bulky. A lot of times you work in pretty cramped spaces. If you go to the hardware store or automotive store, excuse me, and you find some, usually they're pretty thick, and while that is useful in times, it's also detrimental at times. But I've never really ran into a situation where having that was too small, so they work pretty well. I paid $8 for it. There is not a brand name on it. I have no idea what brand it is. You usually just get a pack full. I mean, as you can tell, there's like a lot in there. But they're cheap, and they're a tool you definitely need to use if you plan on doing any type of valve work. Speaking of valve work, this is a special plunger tool for valves. This will help you, if you get some valve grinding compound, will help you seat the valves. Basically, you just kind of get this a little wet. If it's, make sure it's clean. Stick it on the end of the valve, put a little valve grinding compound on it, and you twist, 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 twist. It allows this valve to kind of create its own surface. It's really good. It's pretty much the cheapest, easiest tool you can find. I think I paid about $8 for it, and it's done many of engines, flatheads, non-flatheads, overhead cams, overhead valves, all kinds of different types of valves. It's just a very useful tool. It has two different sizes of suction cups, so it can do small, it could do larger valves. It's a very good tool. I think they're still roughly $8. Don't get the cheaper one though, because there's some that are like 3 or 4. I've seen those. That's just going to be a road of aggravation, because that suction cup is just probably not going to work very well. Get a decent quality one. You'll thank yourself later. And the impact. If you've seen any of my videos, I use this pretty much every day. It's a great tool. It's great for removing bolts. It's great for putting bolts back on. You could put drill bits in there if you want. It's a very versatile tool. In fact, I would wager to say it's even more versatile than just a drill, because this will remove bolts a lot easier without ripping your arm out. And a drill I use primarily for making holes. I can make holes with this with a special type of bit. So yeah, get a decent brand name one. Don't get one that you've never seen before, and get one with a decent battery, because this battery, I can charge it, probably lasts a good 6 months. And you want it to last, because the most annoying thing that possibly could happen is you're in the middle of a project and all of a sudden it will not take anything off. So ideally get a good battery, keep it charged, or even better, get 2. But if you can, get the battery type that tells you how full it is. Some of them do, some of them don't. I'm assuming most of them do now, but that's always a good thing to check, especially when you put it away, because if it's low, you slap it on the charger, and then the next time you need to use it, it's charged. Boom, done. I don't even remember how much I paid for this, because I bought it in a set, but I think it was like roughly $200, and the battery is roughly $100 after that. So $300. I think they're roughly about the same. I don't think they've gone up in price all that much, but I very well could be wrong. Next is a small hone. I think technically this is a brake cylinder hone, but the good thing about this is it's small. This has done 18 horsepower Kawasaki's, it's done 3.5 horse Briggs, it's done a wide range of engines. It's a very versatile tool, so get something that's a little smaller. They do make ball hones, and those are great. Those are more expensive. These will work just fine. Now, if you do a lot of honing, you probably do want to get a ball hone, but these have these little stones on there. You do need to get them lubricated, so always keep a bottle like WD-40 handy, but over time these stones will wear out, so keep that in mind. I like this because I think I paid like $12 for it, and like I said, if it's invaluable when you're redoing or when you're rebuilding an engine, it just adds that special touch when you're doing that. So get a smaller hone, smaller ball hone, whatever you want to get, but at least get a hone. I'm pretty sure you know why you need that. It's perfect for rebuilds. Next item are these pliers. Now, I didn't get these as a set. I got this one separate and this one in a set of 3. They have different sizes. This is just has an angle on it. It's great for like clips, especially fuel clips in areas where you can't reach very well, especially on the side, like Hondas or pretty much any small engine. I've used this so many times. When you're looking for some, don't get the cheapest ones, because they'll twist, they'll break. Get a decent quality version of this. These I've only been able to find in a couple places locally, but you can find them all over the internet. They're just fuel line pliers, fuel, whatever they want to call it, pliers. Could just be line pliers, hose pliers, whatever it is. But basically, unlike that one has a straight end on it, it has a curved end, so you're putting pressure evenly around the line. And if you have a smaller line, use a smaller set. If you have a bigger line, use a bigger set. They work in quite different items, not just fuel lines, but that's primarily what I use it for. This one alone is like $15. The set, I think I paid about $25, and last time I checked, they are probably closer to $30. I wasn't able to find this exact one, but this one I found they're selling for about $18-20. So it's a little pricey considering just a pair of pliers that you don't think you'll use, but trust me, you'll use it a lot. This next one's going to be is if you were to work on like 2-cycle equipment at all. If you go to pretty much anywhere, Amazon, eBay, Google, just type in adjustment driver or 2-cycle adjustment driver, you'll find a pack. Usually it's like 8 or 10, and they're usually pretty cheap, like anywhere between $12 and $20. They come in different heads. This is what they call a Pac-Man, but on the adjustment screws on the carburetor, there are a wide range of different types, and if you don't have the right type, you can't really adjust it. Now you can go around it, put a slot in it, the Dremel and stuff like that, but if you just have the right driver, it makes it look a lot better, makes it easier. You don't have to go through the process of having sparks fly next to fuel. It's just, you know, generally in my book considered a good idea. This next one, most people wouldn't assume they need, but trust me, you'll be amazed how useful they come in handy. Whether you work on small engines or normal size vehicles, doesn't matter. It is a multi-tool, or excuse me, a multimeter. There's all kinds of things you use this. It's good for checking voltages on your battery. It's good for checking if your tractor's charging. Is there a fault at ground? Is there the charger going bad? You know, there's all kinds of things that this is used for. I go through and I check the things if something's open. Maybe there's a solenoid that I want to check if it's working properly. You know, the uses for this is just countless. Anything electrical, I usually end up breaking this out, and it saves me so much time. This is pretty much a definite need if you work on any type of generator, because you can go around it, but you don't really know exactly unless you use one of these. Don't be cheap. In fact, some of them are very cheap. This one's not. This one's like 80-90 bucks, but you don't even have to get an expensive one. I think Harbor Freight sometimes run a sale. If you buy anything, you get one for free, or even if you don't buy anything, it's still like $8. So get one. I'd recommend getting a decent named one, but you know, that's up to you. I can't say any more good things about this. This next piece is a little camera. I use this a lot because it saves me from having to remove a head off the engine. That way you can just shove this in there. Now, side note, you do want to make sure this is rather small. The bigger they are, the more likely you're not going to be able to shove it through the plug hole. So keep that in mind. They make versions that just connect to your phone. They make versions like this. This is a cheap one. I do use it a lot. It does exactly what I need. I wish it recorded. It says it can, but I never was able to get that working. But unless you're making these videos, you really need a recording. I would probably say no. Having said that, this saves you the one time that saves you from remove a head off. It's worth it. I don't remember how much I paid for this. I want to say it's probably closer to like $30. They're not that expensive, especially if you get the ones for your phone. Just find one and buy it. Like I said, the first time that you don't have to remove a head and you just instantly make a determination, you just saved yourself time. I mean, some heads can be real tricky to take off. It's going to take 15-20 minutes, and then you have to put it back on. Let's say you have someone come into your dropping a machine off, it's not running, you look and you see scratches on a cylinder wall. Guess what? You don't even have to worry about removing the shroud, removing, putting it back. No, you have a video and you can work on something else. So time is kind of money if you work on a lot. If you don't and you like the process, well, maybe this isn't for you, but it is something that will save you money, because let's say you remove the head, well, and guess what? Now you need to buy a new head gasket. Maybe it was a simple valve problem and you were able to catch it later. You know, you don't know. So this can be both a time-saving and a money-saving tool. And we get to the Ultrasonic Cleaner. I got a rather large one because I do ATV carbs and all kinds of stuff. So get one that's appropriate for your sizing. I would wager to say larger is better, because you can put a small carb in this big ultrasonic cleaner. However, you can't necessarily put a big carb in a small one. See what I mean? But having said that, these are rather expensive, so get the biggest one you can afford. That's a pretty decent name, or at least a decent rating, and you won't be sorry. I think I paid like $260 for this at the time, which seemed like a lot, but the amount of carbs this has saved me from buying is astounding. So it's made its money back 10 times over, at least, probably even more by now. And there we have it. These are some of the tools these are the ones I would say if you are first starting off, you should buy these first. And the specialty, super specialty ones such as that steel block splitter or others. There's lots of them, trust me, there is a lot. But having bought in these will do a lot of the work, and the 10% that this cannot work on or fix, yeah, the specialty tools will come later, but guess what? You don't have to buy those until that 10% comes across your table. So I would recommend doing these, which brings me to my final one, which is arguably probably the one I would say you should buy the first time. Let me explain. You see this table? Excuse me. It is a back saver. It is probably one of the most cheapest, best tools you can buy. I think I paid like $250 for it. It's a manual pump. It's nothing special. Some of them are air, some of them are bigger. You can put motorcycles, some you can really large, some are super small, all kinds of things. Get the one that will fit your needs. I made this tabletop for it to kind of make it a little bit bigger, and it works great. I use this every single day. This is a hip height table, and I don't have to lean down. Imagine working on something on the floor, such as that backpack blower, or working on something that is hip height. It's a lot easier. You can even get a chair if you want to go down even lower, sit down, make it even easier. You can put drinks on it, all kinds of fun things. But this is probably the thing I would say, if you don't have anything else on this table, get the table first, because you'd be surprised how this will save your back. You can go about different ways. You could get pulleys and pull things up and have suspended and all kinds of weird crap, but just get some type of table. I don't care. If you have a forklift and just put a piece of plywood on it and strap it down, something. Get your machines you're working off the ground. Put them on a table, something that you can lower and raise, because if you just put a table on here, how are you going to get it on there? Are you going to lift it up? Are you going to lift up a giant chipper, big rototiller on here? Maybe if you have a couple friends, I don't mind doing this all the time and then coming back to take it off once it's finished. So get one that lowers and raises. Manually, electronically, pneumatically, it doesn't matter. Hydraulically, there's lots of different ways, I'm sure. Get a table. It's the best investment you can possibly have. Well, that is going to be the end of this one. Like I said, this is no way, shape, or form the only tools you need. There are more, but specialty tools will come around. Buy them as you need them, but these tools on the table will get pretty much 90% of the job done, and the times when you do have to get everything else done, buy that specialty tool and keep it for later, and eventually you'll have a good buildup of specialty tools and normal tools, and the time it takes you to do anything every single time will get lowered with each tool, because you need the right tool for the right job. That's what you're doing. You're buying the right tool for the right job. I'm going to leave you at that. Follow me on Instagram at SmallEngine101. If you have any questions, leave a comment below. If you think I missed something that you think is pretty much a staple, leave a comment below and tell me how much did you pay for it, how often do you use it, and what do you primarily use it for. And let's build this up that way in case I did forget anything, people can read it and maybe add that to their collection too. Who knows? Maybe I have it and I just overlooked it. Don't know. I'm going to leave you at that. Have a good night.